people empowered with ideas and knowledge and an ability to participate now. It turns out they have thousands, hundreds of thousands, individual views on everything.
Sure.
They don't fit into the R bucket or the D bucket, and they particularly don't fit in sort of conservative, neoconservative authoritarianism, or some of the disappointments that they got from Obama, who promised something very different than he delivered.
Absolutely.
This is the libertarian moment in real time. This is our chance to fill that gap, which is why for all of this I'm optimistic.
Explain a little bit to me, a little bit more about what Free the People is all about exactly.
So the idea is to take advantage of the a la carte generation and the incredibly libertarian culture that surrounds people that curate their entire existence. They choose their music, they choose their friends, and they're curating politics in the same way. And it's not Team R or Team D. You have now, I think in 44 out of 50 states, there's more registered independents than there are Republicans or Democrats.
Sure.
It's not because they don't care, it's because they're not really interested in buying a package deal. They're going to choose their issues and their values and their agenda one click at a time. But I think this community is different. I think this community is more like us than any community we've tried to organize in the past. So we're going to try to get into the culture. We understand that politics is a lagging indicator of social change, and that the real opportunity is to drive ideas and values and community and organization and make people feel like they have a voice in this process. So I want to connect with that millennial generation, and I want to connect the dots on liberty for a generation that is inherently libertarian. Maybe they don't know it yet, maybe
Right.
They would never use the libertarian word, but that's such an opportunity. It's one like we've never had before.
Every aspect of the liberty message is something that relates to everyday common people, regular people going through their day-to-day rigmarole. It relates to them if it's put to them the right way. I don't care if you're an African American who a family member's been in jail because of our oppressive drug war and mandatory minimum sentencing. I don't care if you're a military family who love your country and love the service that you provided, but you might not want to see your son or daughter off in Afghanistan or another Iraq war style situation, for tour upon tour upon tour. If you're the guy trying to make ends meet, and the Democrats and others are saying that government's always the answer, well, that old traditional conservative message, I think, is most alive with libertarians and the liberty people, that government's not the answer. That's what's so interesting to me about so many of this, that libertarians, the liberty folks, we're better than the progressives on their own issues, and we're better than the conservatives on their own issues.
I stole this idea from Rand Paul, and two things he was doing that was so provocative when he was talking about defending the entire Bill of Rights, not just the First Amendment, not just the Second Amendment, but the Fourth and Fifth
Sure.
and Sixth, and looking at it as a package of liberties that go together. You can't pick and choose, you can't selectively be for free speech, and then you're not. Some of these transpartisan movements on justice reform,
Right.
on drug policy, on privacy and surveillance, these are natural examples where people, honest progressives, honest conservatives, libertarians, Tea Partiers, they can all come together and say, you know what, this is a problem. Good intentions aside, the federal government got too involved. It's always a story about government being too involved in people's lives.
Right.
What is mass incarceration? It's the federal government sort of blindly imposing mandatory minimums, particularly on young kids that are first-time drug offenders. We can agree on that. And if we can establish a narrative where government is either driven by interests that don't have our interests in mind, or driven by the same sort of inability to predict things that all of us struggle from in this uncertain world, we can then apply that to other issues. We can apply it to economics, we can apply it to tax reform and entitlement reform, but I think we need to talk about common values first.
It really is just taking the old left-right paradigm and completely breaking it, just busting it wide open to show people a new politics that's much better, more optimistic, and of course liberty-oriented.
So if we can democratize politics, it seems to me that we can democratize ideas. And I think what you guys are doing is sort of cutting edge, because instead of handing somebody a copy of Human Action, you're trying to figure out how to send a liberty message in 140 characters. Instead of asking someone to read a white paper, you're trying to come up with a compelling image that you can post on Facebook. And I think when you look down the long tail of the internet, the audience is huge for that. But I think we need to rethink everything we're doing, because I think we're using old tools to talk to a new generation of people that think about things differently. The language has to be different. We have to stop talking about the non-aggression principle.
Or at least talk about other things.
Yeah. Or translate it into English, maybe. Jack, to the first Liberty Breaks. Cheers.
Cheers.